The twin suns of Kepler 438b cast long purple shadows across the crystalline meadows as Zara checked her research equipment one final time. Her fingers moved expertly over the bioscanners, cataloging the luminescent flora that made this distant world so precious to human colonization efforts. At 26, she had already made groundbreaking discoveries about alien plant life. But today felt different somehow. A thunderous crash shattered the peaceful afternoon silence. Zara spun toward the sound, her heart racing as she saw black smoke rising from beyond the crystal ridge. Military transport, she wondered, or perhaps a supply ship from the orbital station? But as she approached the crash site, her breath caught in her throat. The twisted metal bore markings she recognized from intelligence briefings. Drakmori script, enemy script. This was a warrior's fighter, built for speed and combat, steam hissed. From the wreckage and through the cracked viewport, she glimpsed movement. Every instinct screamed at her to run, to contact the human garrison 50 kilometers away. The war between humanity and the Drakmori had raged for 3 years, leaving countless worlds scarred and empty. These aliens were supposed to be monsters, ruthless conquerors who showed no mercy. But as Zara crept closer, she saw something that changed everything. A hand pressed against the inside of the viewport, fingers spread wide in what looked unmistakably like a plea for help. The hand was larger than human, with elongated fingers and pale blue skin. But the gesture spoke a universal language of desperation. The cockpit hissed open with a mechanical groan, and the pilot tumbled out onto the crystalline ground. He was tall, probably 7 feet, with lean muscle beneath torn armor that revealed patches of luminescent blue skin. His face, while alien in its sharp angles and silver eyes, showed pain that needed no translation. Dark fluid seeped from a gash across his chest, and his breathing came in shallow gasps. As their eyes met, Zara saw something she hadn't expected. Fear, but also a flicker of hope. He said something in his musical language, the words rising and falling like a distant song. "I don't understand," Zara whispered, kneeling beside him. Despite every warning she'd ever received about enemy contact, "You're hurt." The alien warrior tried to push himself up, silver eyes never leaving her face. When he spoke again, his voice was weaker, and Zara realized with growing alarm that he was dying. Whatever had brought down his ship had injured him badly. She looked back toward her research station, then at the wounded alien before her. Smart choice, the safe choice, would be to let nature take its course. But as she watched him struggle to breathe, something deep inside her rebelled against that cold logic. "This is insane," she muttered, then slipped her arms under his shoulders. "Come on, let me help you." The warrior was heavy, but adrenaline gave her strength, step by agonizing step. She managed to get him to her station and onto the medical table she used for treating her own minor injuries. His silver eyes followed her every movement as she gathered supplies, wariness mixing with gratitude in their depths. As Zara began cleaning his wounds, she noticed how he flinched at her touch, not from pain but from surprise that he never experienced. Gentleness from an enemy before. His skin was warm beneath her fingers, and she found herself wondering what kind of person he was beneath the armor and alienness. "My name is Zara," she said softly, pointing to herself. Then she gestured to him with a questioning look. The alien watched her lips form the words, then spoke slowly, his voice like wind through crystal chimes. "Kale." He touched his chest, wincing slightly. "Kale, it was a beginning, forbidden." Understanding 3 days passed in careful routine. Zara tended to Kale's wounds while maintaining her research schedule, though she found herself stealing glances at her unusual patient more often than she cared to admit. His injuries were healing remarkably fast, but she kept him sedated during the worst of it, not wanting him to suffer. When Kale finally woke fully, his silver eyes were clearer, more alert. He studied her as she checked his bandages, and when their fingers accidentally touched, neither pulled away immediately. The contact sent an unexpected warmth through Zara that had nothing to do with his alien body temperature. Communication came slowly, built on gestures and drawings. Kale proved surprisingly gentle for a warrior, his long fingers delicate as he sketched images in the dirt outside her station. He drew his ship among the stars, then showed her falling, burning. A mission gone wrong, she understood, though whether by accident or sabotage remained unclear. Zara shared her own drawings. Earth's blue oceans. The research station where she'd trained, her family's farm with its golden wheat fields. Kale studied each image intently, sometimes asking questions with elaborate gestures that made her laugh despite herself. It was during one of these drawing sessions that she noticed him staring at the sunset. The twin suns painted the sky in shades of amber and rose, and his expression held such longing that her heart ached. "Beautiful," he said in halting human standard, the word carefully pronounced. "Do you know some of our language?" Zara realized. Surprised, Kale nodded slowly. Little. Learned. From prisoners. The admission hung between them, a reminder of the war that raged beyond this small oasis of peace. That evening, as they sat outside watching the stars emerge, Zara pointed to familiar constellations. "That's Orion," she said, tracing the hunter's outline. "And there's Cassiopeia." Kale listened intently, then began pointing to stars himself, speaking in his own language. His voice grew softer, sadder, as he gestured toward a particular cluster. "Home," he said finally, in human standard, the word heavy with loss. Zara followed his gaze to the distant stars, understanding flooding through her. "Your world?" "Was," Kale replied, his silver eyes reflecting starlight. "Dying. We... search for new home." "Find humans already there?" The simple statement rewrote everything Zara thought she knew about the war. The Drakmori weren't conquerors, they were refugees. A dying people looking for sanctuary and finding only conflict. "Why didn't you tell us?" she whispered. Kale turned to her, and in the starlight, his alien features seemed almost familiar. "Humans shoot first. Ask questions. After."
Ass.
They sat. In silence, the weight of mutual understanding settling between them. When a cool breeze rose, Zara noticed Kale shiver slightly. Without thinking, she moved closer, sharing her warmth. "Zara," he said quietly, and the way he spoke her name sent shivers through her that had nothing to do with the cold. "Yes, thank you, for ... He gestured at his healing wounds, the shelter, the food she'd shared. "For seeing me, not just enemy." Their faces were close now, close enough that she could see the fine patterns of silver that traced across his blue skin like living tattoos. When he reached up to touch her cheek, his fingers trembling slightly, she didn't pull away. "Kale," she whispered, her voice catching as she realized how much this alien warrior had come to mean to her in just 3 short days. His thumb traced her jawline. Wonder in his expression, so different, so ... beautiful. The moment stretched. Between them, full of possibility and danger. They were enemies by birth, allies by choice. And something deeper was growing in the space between those definitions. When Kale leaned closer, Zara's heart raced, but she didn't retreat. Instead, she met him halfway, her hand settling over his heart to feel its rapid rhythm matching her own. The morning of the 4th day shattered their fragile peace. Zara woke to the sound of aircraft engines in the distance, growing closer. Through her station's sensors, she detected multiple heat signatures approaching from the North Human. "Military transports, Kale." She shook him awake urgently. "They're coming. Human forces." His silver eyes snapped open, instantly alert. Without hesitation, he began gathering his scattered armor pieces, though his wounds still slowed his movements. "No," Zara said, catching his arm. "You're not healed enough to fight. Cannot stay," Kale replied, his limited human vocabulary strained. "By urgency, they find me here. Hurt you." Before Zara could argue, a new sound joined the approaching aircraft, a different engine signature, deeper and more resonant. Kale froze, his face going pale. "Drakmori," he whispered. "Hunt patrol. They... think I am dead." "Why would they think that?" Kale's jaw tightened. "Mission was Secret. If caught, better to be dead than captured. The full implications hit Zara like a physical blow. Both sides were converging on her position, and neither would hesitate to kill anyone they found with the enemy. She looked at Kale, this warrior who had become so much more than an alien enemy, and made her choice. Can you travel? Yes, but Zara, you cannot. I'm not leaving you. The words came out fiercer than she'd intended, surprising them both. We go together. They had perhaps 20 minutes before the first ships arrived. Zara grabbed her emergency pack and field equipment while Kale secured what remained of his gear. As they prepared to leave, he caught her hand. Why? He asked quietly. Why risk everything for me? Zara looked into his silver eyes, seeing her own reflection there. 'Cause somewhere between healing your wounds and learning your name, you stopped being the enemy and started being ... you. They fled south into the Crystal Canyons, moving as quickly as Kale's injuries allowed. Behind them, the sound of ships landing echoed across the landscape. Shouts in both human and Drakmori languages drifted on the wind. Search parties spreading out to find them. The crystalline formations that made this world beautiful also made it treacherous. Razor-sharp edges caught at their clothing, and the maze-like passages could icily lead them in circles, but the same features that hindered them also provided cover from aerial searches. As evening approached, storm clouds gathered overhead. Zara knew they needed shelter. The Crystal Canyons became deadly rivers during the planet's violent storms. She spotted a cave entrance partially hidden behind a curtain of hanging crystal formations. They barely made it inside before the storm. Hit rain hammered the crystal landscape outside, creating a symphony of musical tones as water struck the formations. In the relative safety of the cave, they huddled together, sharing warmth and listening to their pursuers' voices fade into the distance. Storm will hide our trail, Kale said, his arm around her shoulders, but they will not stop looking. Zara leaned against his chest, feeling the steady rhythm of his breathing. Then we keep running. Zara, his voice was soft in the darkness. You cannot run forever. This is not your war. Became my war the moment I chose to save you instead of let you die. Thunder crashed outside, and in its aftermath, Kale tilted her chin up to meet his gaze. You saved more than my life, he whispered. What do you mean? Instead of answering with words, he showed her, his lips meeting hers in a kiss that tasted of starlight and promises. Zara melted into him, all the walls she'd built around her heart, crumbling in the face of this impossible love, when they broke apart. Both breathing hard, she saw her own wonder reflected in his silver eyes. This is madness, she whispered. Yes, Kale agreed, his forehead touching hers. Beautiful madness. Outside, the storm raged on, hiding them from the world that would see them as enemies. In the shelter of the cave, they were simply two hearts, beating in rhythm, finding love in the most unlikely place. Sacrifice and betrayal, they traveled for 5 days through the Crystal Canyons, always staying one step ahead of their pursuers. The search teams had grown larger, more organized, as if both sides had decided that finding the missing Drakmori warrior was worth significant resources. Zara began to suspect there was more to Kale's story than he'd told her. On the 6th morning, they crested a ridge and saw something impossible. A hidden valley where humans and Drakmori lived and worked together. Gardens grew in neat, rows tended by mixed groups, and children of both species played together in the morning sun. Sanctuary, Kale breathed, wonder in his voice. The stories were true. An elderly human woman approached them, her eyes kind but cautious. Welcome, travelers. I am Elder Santos. You look like you've had a difficult journey. You're being hunted, Zara said simply. Both sides are after us. Elder Santos nodded knowingly. Then you've come to the right place. This valley has sheltered refugees from the war for 2 years. Now, we believe there's another way forward than endless conflict. As they were led into the settlement, Zara saw the truth of those words. Former soldiers from both armies worked side by side, sharing skills and stories. Drakmori taught humans their advanced agricultural techniques, while humans shared their medical knowledge. It was everything the galaxy could be if fear and misunderstanding didn't poison every first contact that night. As they sat around a communal fire, Kale finally told Zara the complete truth about his mission. I was not just any warrior, he admitted. I am ... was son of the war commander. My mission was to scout for weaknesses in human defenses. Zara felt the words hit her like a physical blow. You're the commander's son. Yes. But seeing this place, seeing what peace could look like, he took her hands in his. I cannot return to that life. The war must end, Zara. Both our peoples are dying for nothing. Before she could respond, shouts erupted from the valley entrance. Human military vehicles were approaching, led by someone Zara recognized with sinking heart, Marcus Chen, her former research partner, and the man who'd recommended her for this assignment. Zara, Marcus called through a loudspeaker as troops surrounded the settlement. I know you're in there. Come out peacefully, and no one needs to get hurt. The peaceful settlers gathered around them, faces grim but determined. These people had found something worth protecting, and they wouldn't give it up easily. I have to go to him, Zara said quietly. Maybe I can make him understand. No, Kale's grip on her hand tightened. He will not listen. And if he sees me, they take me back. I'll spend my life in a military prison for helping the enemy. God, if they find you here, they'll kill you and destroy this place. Lada looked around at the mixed families, the children who knew no difference between human and Drakmori. I won't let that happen. She stood and walked toward the valley entrance, hands raised. Marcus emerged from behind the vehicles, relief and anger warring on his familiar features. Zara, thank God you're alive. The Drakmori ship. We thought they'd taken you prisoner. They didn't take me prisoner, Marcus. I chose to help. His expression hardened. He chose to commit treason. Where is the alien? Intelligence says he's the commander's son. Imagine the strategic value of capturing him. He's not here, Zara lied, hoping Kale would stay hidden. Don't lie to me. Marcus signaled to his troops. Search the settlement and prepare orbital bombardment coordinates if we can't capture the target. We'll make sure no other enemies use this place as a base. These aren't enemies. Zara stepped between Marcus and the settlement. They're families, children, people who want the same things we do. Peace, safety, a chance to build something better. Step aside, Zara. That's an order. For a moment that felt like eternity, Zara weighed her choices. Then she heard footsteps behind her and turned to see Kale approaching, his hands raised in surrender. You want the commander's son? He said, in clear human standard, his voice carrying across the valley. Here I am. Take me, but leave these people in peace. Marcus smiled grimly, but before he could give the capture order, something changed in Kale's expression. His silver eyes hardened with resolve, and Zara realized what he was about to do. No, she whispered, reaching for him. But Kale was already moving, not toward surrender, but toward sacrifice. Kale stepped forward, but instead of surrendering, he began to speak in a voice that carried across the valley like a song. His words were in human standard, clear and strong, meant for everyone to hear. I am Kale, son of War Commander Thane. Of the Drakmori fleet, he announced. For 3 years, I have fought humans. For 3 years, I have watched both our peoples bleed for worlds that could shelter us all. Marcus motioned for his troops to move closer, but something in Kale's bearing made them hesitate. But in these past days, Kale continued, his eyes finding Zara's, I have learned what none of our leaders understand. We are not so different, your kind and mine. We both love our children, both mourn our dead. We both dream of homes where we can live without fear. Zara felt tears streaming down her face as she understood what Kale was trying to do. He wasn't just surrendering, he was making a stand for peace. This woman, he said, extending his hand toward her enemy by birth, saved my life when every instinct told her to let me die. She showed me that the choice between war and peace lies not with our leaders, but with each of us, in every moment when we decide whether to see an enemy or a fellow being in need. Enough speeches, Marcus snapped, raising his weapon. You're coming with us? But Zara stepped between them again, her voice ringing out with equal clarity. He's right, Marcus. Look around you. She gestured to the mixed settlement where humans and Drakmori stood together, protecting each other. This is what the future could look like if we choose courage over fear. Zara, don't make me order you arrested too, then arrest me. She moved to stand beside Kale, taking his hand, because I won't watch you destroy the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Proof that love can exist between our species. A murmur ran through both the troops and the settlers. Some of Marcus's soldiers lowered their weapons slightly, uncertainty creeping into their faces. Love, Marcus laughed harshly. You think you love this alien? I know I do, Zara replied without hesitation. And he loves me. We've found something worth fighting for, not against each other, but together, for a future where children like these don't have to choose sides in their parents' war. Kale squeezed her hand, then stepped forward once more. Shh, he said, somehow knowing the man's name. I offer you something worth more than one prisoner. I offer you a way to end this war. You're not in a position to offer anything. I am the commander's son. My people will listen if I tell them about this place, about what's possible when we choose cooperation over conquest. Kale's voice grew stronger. But only if you prove that humans can choose the same path. Let this settlement stand. Let these families live in peace. Show the galaxy that humanity is capable of mercy. For a long moment, Marcus wavered. Zara could see the internal struggle playing out on his face. Duty warring with conscience. Orders against the evidence of his own eyes. Finally, Elder Santos stepped forward. Young man, she said to Marcus, I've seen war consume 3 worlds. I've watched good people on both sides die for causes that no one can even remember anymore. But I've also seen what happens when we choose differently. She gestured to a mixed family nearby, human father, Drakmori mother, children who are beautiful blends of both species. These children are the future. The question is, what kind of future will you give them? Marcus looked at the children at the peaceful settlement, at Zara and Kale standing together, hand in hand. Slowly, he lowered his weapon. Command won't like this, he said quietly. Then maybe it's time Command learned something new, Zara replied. 6 months later, Zara stood on the observation deck of the diplomatic station orbiting Kepler 438b, watching. As the first official peace talks between humans and Drakmori began, Kale joined her, his diplomatic robes a stark contrast to the warrior's armor she'd first seen him in. Nervous? She asked, leaning into his warmth. Terrified, he admitted, wrapping his arms around her, but hopeful too. The settlement has grown. 5 more valleys now, thousands of families choosing peace. And us? Zara asked, turning in his arms to face him. What do we choose? Kale smiled, his silver eyes bright with love. Forever, if you'll have me, on whatever world will accept us. Any world, Zara whispered as he leaned